White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill. We know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in. We've got lots of ground to cover today from the United States and around the world. But before we get to all of that, let's take a look at the latest headlines. President Joe Biden begins a 3-day visit to the southern African nation of Angola. The American president will showcase a major U.S.-backed railway project in the region to counter China's influence. Washington approves the sale of weapons worth more than $385 million to Taiwan. The move comes after Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te completes a 2-day visit to Hawaii. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz visits Ukraine and meets President Volodymyr Zelensky. Chancellor Scholz pledges weapons worth more than $680 million for Kyiv. The Philippines spots a Russian attack submarine off its western coast in the South China Sea. Manila calls the submarine's presence worrisome. And hundreds protest against Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela's capital, Caracas. Several demonstrators urge the International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant for Maduro. We begin in the Middle East, where anti-government rebels are moving towards more cities after capturing Aleppo in northwestern Syria. The fighters, who are part of an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group, are moving south towards the country's capital, Damascus. Now, according to war monitors, the insurgents have captured more than 50 villages and towns. After sweeping through Aleppo, they are now pushing towards a city called Hama, which is just 100 miles from the nation's capital. The offensive began last week against Syrian leader Bashar Al-Assad's government and has led to the killing of more than 400 people. Meanwhile, Assad's loyalists have pledged to fight against the jihadist group who are trying to overthrow the government.
This is our land, our honor, and our dignity. But anyone who is a mercenary or acting outside the law and tries to open fire will be dealt with on the spot. As the Syrian Arab Army, we've been resisting for 14 years. This is who we are. This is our military, social, and ethical upbringing. By God's will, everything is very manageable for us, and we are ready for confrontation.
Now, Syria erupted into a civil war back in 2011 when anti-Assad protests swept the country. The Syrian government was then backed by Vladimir Putin, who deployed Russian forces to Damascus to protect Assad's regime. And just like last time, Putin has again pledged to support the Syrian leader by ordering large-scale airstrikes across Syria targeting the insurgents.
More than 15 airstrikes targeted Idlib city since the morning on December 1, 2024. It left behind around 15 martyrs in addition to 100 injured people. The number is on the rise. Moving to Aleppo, the government forces intensified their airstrikes on residential buildings. Civil defense teams registered the targeting of Saad Allah al-Jabri Square and areas surrounding it with 4 airstrikes, which led to 12 martyrs in addition to 23 injured people.
Now, along with Russia, Iran and Turkey remain 2 big critical players in Syria, with Ankara supporting the insurgents while Tehran supports the Assad government. In fact, it was the Iran-backed group Hezbollah that helped the Syrian government in defeating the rebels during the 2011 civil war. However, with Israel dealing deadly blows to Hezbollah, the Syrian rebels now have a free run with support from Turkey. Meanwhile, Washington is closely monitoring the escalation and has criticized Moscow for carrying out indiscriminate airstrikes in cities with large civilian populations. Now it's too soon to write off Assad's regime, particularly with Iran and Russia's backing him. However, if more cities fall to the insurgency, the Assad regime could be witnessing the end of its grip on power. And here in the United States, President Joe Biden has officially pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, after repeatedly insisting that he would not do so. The outgoing commander-in-chief made the decision just days before his son's sentencing in 2 criminal cases. Hunter Biden was convicted in July for possessing a firearm as an illicit drug user, and he also pleaded guilty in a tax evasion case in September. Here's the latest on the president's about face.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
Since day one of his presidency, Joe Biden said he would never use his executive powers for the benefit of his family. But his past promises came crashing down on Sunday when the commander-in-chief pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, just a month before leaving the White House. In his official statement, the president said his son had been singled out and his years of legal troubles were a result of miscarriage of justice. Joe Biden's move came just weeks before Hunter was scheduled to receive punishment in 2 cases against him. In July, the 54-year-old was convicted of being an illegal drug user in possession of a gun. And 2 months later, he pleaded guilty to federal tax evasion charges. The gun charges carried up to 25 years behind bars and the tax charges 17 years. Hunter's legal saga came to light in 2020, a month after his father's victory in the presidential election, threatening the elder Biden's legacy for life.
For 6 years, I have been the target of the unrelenting Trump attack machine, shouting, "Where's Hunter?" Well, here's my answer. I am here. Let me state as clearly as I can. My father was not financially involved in my business, not as a practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist.
The outgoing president time and again promised Americans that he would restore respect for the rule of law, especially after the chaotic first term of Donald Trump. Joe Biden repeatedly insisted that he will not pardon his son or commute his sentence.
With regard to the question regarding the family, I'm extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
However, speculation mounted that the president would issue a pardon after Hunter was seen with his father over the Thanksgiving holiday. Meanwhile, Hunter Biden said he accepts the mistakes that he made during the darkest days of his life, though he added that his mistakes were exploited to publicly shame his family for political sport. Notably, Republicans throughout this election season brought up Hunter's cases and cocaine addiction to attack Joe Biden and prove that he's a disaster as a parent and as a president. Now, after the president's decision to pardon his son, MAGA supporters say Joe Biden's move is not to prove himself as a good parent, but instead escape legal mishaps that might have come with Hunter's sentencing, especially with Donald Trump in power. Meanwhile, the incoming president, who was once hounded for pardoning his allies during the first term, also blasted Joe Biden for pulling this U-turn by misusing his position. With pardoning Hunter, it is clear that Joe Biden, who always claimed his entire career was based upon telling the truth to American people, finally gave in and chose his convicted son over justice.
And staying in the United States, tech billionaire Elon Musk has filed a motion in a federal court in California to stop artificial intelligence giant OpenAI from converting to a fully for-profit business. The injunction will stop OpenAI from allegedly asking its investors to refrain from funding companies they perceive as close competitors. The latest court filing is an escalation of the legal battle between Musk and OpenAI and other involved parties, including Microsoft. Musk co-founded OpenAI but left in 2018. In fact, he argues that the company's CEO Sam Altman and President Greg Brockman violated their agreement of keeping OpenAI's status nonprofit. Musk also contends that he was defrauded of more than $44 million in donations. However, OpenAI has given a different story.
As we discussed a for-profit structure in order to further the mission, Elon wanted us to merge with Tesla, or he wanted full control. Elon left OpenAI, saying there needed to be a relevant competitor to Google, DeepMind, and that he was going to do it himself. He said he'd be supportive of us, finding our own path. We're sad that it's come to this with someone whom we've deeply admired, someone who inspired us to aim higher, then told us we would fail, started a competitor, and then sued us when we started making meaningful progress towards OpenAI's mission without him.
Now, the Tesla CEO originally sued OpenAI in San Francisco State Court back in March. However, he withdrew the lawsuit and later hit the AI giant with a much more powerful lawsuit in a federal court in August. The lawsuit targeted OpenAI, Altman, and Brockman, arguing the company violated federal racketeering laws. Musk expanded the complaint to OpenAI's investor Microsoft and several other board members last month. It alleged that both OpenAI and Microsoft violated antitrust laws when the ChatGPT maker allegedly asked investors not to fund rival firms, including Musk's xAI.
Microsoft and OpenAI now seek to cement this dominance by cutting off competitors' access to investment capital, while continuing to benefit from years' worth of shared, competitively sensitive information during generative AI's formative years.
Now, OpenAI is dismissing all of Musk's allegations, calling them baseless.
Elon's fourth attempt, which again recycles the same baseless complaints, continues to be utterly without merit.
Notably, OpenAI has emerged as one of the most successful startups in recent years, with ChatGPT helping usher in corporate enthusiasm over artificial intelligence. In fact, the AI giant debuted in 2015 as a fully nonprofit entity, and in 2019, it converted into a capped profit model. OpenAI, which is now valued at $157 billion, wants to become a fully for-profit public benefit corporation to attract more investors. And continuing in the United States, New York City has sparked a controversy with a $220 million deal to lease the iconic Roosevelt Hotel. Owned by Pakistan's International Airlines, the 19-story hotel, which was once a Manhattan landmark, is now being used as a migrant housing center, offering services like food and vaccines.
I'm very grateful to the government who have helped us to find a roof, food to eat. We appreciate that, but 60 days is very little time to find a place, especially because the rent here is very expensive. We're human beings and need to be relocated because we need a roof to stay under, even more now that it's colder. They should think about the kids. I know it's not an obligation because they didn't ask us to come here, but if you see what someone goes through for someone to arrive here, it is hard.
Now, it's worth noting that as glamorous as the Roosevelt looks, the hotel has a complex history, but it was at one time, quote unquote, seen as a sweetheart deal for Pakistan. Back in 2020, during the COVID-19 pandemic, the hotel closed down due to low occupancy and financial struggles. And then in 2023, as part of a $1.1 billion IMF bailout to help Pakistan avoid default, the hotel was included in an agreement to generate revenue. The 3-year lease covers at least 1,250 rooms, giving Pakistan $220 million over a period of 3 years.
A long-standing stop for business travel, amazing location, is 900 rooms. We heard that it was being transformed to a migrant processing center. You know, it's just an interesting sort of adjustment for such a historic standard piece of New York real estate.
Now, Pakistan, on the other hand, sees the deal as a financial lifeline amid skyrocketing inflation and a severe economic crisis. A former railway minister of Pakistan confirmed the agreement and stated that Pakistan will regain ownership of the hotel after the lease period is over.
The lease agreement is expected to generate revenues to the tune of around $220 million for the Pakistan government.
Now, this deal has sparked outrage among voters and lawmakers. In fact, the incoming Trump administration has taken note of the deal, with Republican Vivek Ramaswamy taking to social media platform X and calling the arrangement nuts. Ramaswamy, who has been tasked to work with Elon Musk to head the Department of Government Efficiency, criticized the Roosevelt Hotel deal and questioned why American taxpayers were funding a foreign government. As the controversy grows, many wonder, will this deal spark greater scrutiny of international agreements? And how will President-elect Donald Trump's America First ethos, especially his stance on illegal immigration, influence future deals and other hotels that have been turned into migrant processing centers? While the answers remain uncertain for now, New York City taxpayers are left paying the price. And finally, from Mexico, drug cartels are recruiting university students who are majoring in chemistry to expand fentanyl production. Lured by high salaries and scholarships, students are now working in cartel labs to make the drug more potent by creating the chemicals needed to make fentanyl, reducing the cartel's reliance on imports from China. Now, this marks a dangerous shift in the opioid crisis, with experts warning it could lead to a deadlier flood of fentanyl into the United States. Our final report explores how cartels are infiltrating campuses and reshaping the drug trade.
Mexican drug cartels are infiltrating universities and transforming campuses into unexpected hubs for fentanyl production. By targeting students with advanced scientific skills, criminal groups aim to produce more potent fentanyl and eliminate their dependence on imported precursor chemicals. The Sinaloa cartel, a major player in the global fentanyl trade, leads these efforts. According to a report by the New York Times, chemistry students are being lured with lucrative offers, often double the average salary of legal jobs. And before hiring them, cartel recruiters often investigate the students' social circles to identify potential candidates. Then, once recruited, these students have critical roles. They conduct experiments to enhance the drug's potency, supervise large-scale production, and attempt to synthesize precursor chemicals from scratch. However, developing precursors is highly complex and dangerous. It requires specialized knowledge, equipment, and precision. Mistakes can lead to deadly accidents, including explosions and toxic exposure. Even with hazmat suits and gas masks, the risks are immense. Yet the pay outpaces everything else, making it an enticing option for some lab rats. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, a university professor told the New York Times that the situation in Mexico's Sinaloa state has become so alarming that students now openly express their interest in the drug trade.
Sometimes when I am teaching them synthesis of pharmaceutical drugs, they openly ask me, "Hey, professor, when are you teaching us how to synthesize cocaine and other things?"
American authorities have arrested many young chemists in recent years. These chemists admitted they were working to create precursors and strengthen fentanyl for cartels. A leaked Mexican intelligence report from 2020 revealed that cartels even sought to recruit professors to develop precursor chemicals during the pandemic. If cartels manage to perfect precursor synthesis, US officials warn it will mark a dangerous turning point. Their control over the fentanyl supply chain would grow, making the drug cheaper and deadlier.
The cartels know we are now focused on the illicit trafficking of these precursor chemicals around the world. Those efforts are driving the cartels to try to bring this thing in-house. The practical result of that is their ability to more easily and quickly transfer those drugs to the United States.
Fentanyl has fueled a catastrophic overdose crisis in the United States. If Mexican cartels eliminate their reliance on imported chemicals from China, they could flood the market with even greater quantities at unprecedented speeds. This alarming rise is also responsible for increasing crime rates in North America. Just last weekend, Mexican authorities reported 8 people, including one police officer, were killed due to a wider context of internal conflict between factions of the powerful Sinaloa cartel.
It seems that in a place called Jagada, there were 2 deaths and 1 person injured. The injured person was taken to the general hospital, where we were later informed that he also passed away. Unfortunately, we had 8 fatalities yesterday. We have already spoken with all the staff. The first step in ensuring safety for all of us is to take care of ourselves by being vigilant and aware. If we do not prioritize our own safety, we cannot ensure the safety of our team members in each unit, and we will be even less able to provide safety to the public, which is our main goal.
The political stakes are also escalating. While the Biden administration focused on diplomatic solutions, President-elect Donald Trump has vowed aggressive action, including military intervention and tariffs on Mexican goods. And in response, Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum called for internal collaboration to halt precursor shipments from Asia. As cartels refine their methods and expand their reach, the danger intensifies. With trained chemists and fewer supply chain barriers, the next chapter of the fentanyl crisis looms large.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank you so much for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories